The idea that emotional imprint matters more than physical presence is one of the most overlooked yet powerful concepts in human connection. When it comes to forming lasting attraction, it's not how often you're seen, how much time you spend with someone, or how constantly available you are that creates deep attachment. It's the feeling you leave behind when you're no longer there. This emotional residue, if positive, intriguing, and warm, has the power to echo in someone's mind long after the interaction has ended. Think about the people who have stayed in your memory. Chances are it's not the ones who were always around, constantly messaging or inserting themselves into your life. It's the ones who, in a brief moment or meaningful conversation, made you feel something unique, something you hadn't felt before. That's emotional imprinting. It's a combination of presence, energy, timing, and emotional resonance. You become unforgettable, not because you were always physically there, but because you gave them a moment they can't recreate with anyone else. This isn't about manipulation or performing. It's about showing up authentically and being emotionally intentional. When you're present, be fully present. Speak in a way that reaches deeper than surface level small talk. Listen with the kind of attention that makes someone feel seen. Share insights, stories, or even silence that shifts their internal world, even if just slightly. That's how you create an imprint. And once it's there, your presence lingers in their memory far more powerfully than someone who's physically present but emotionally forgettable. Ironically, trying to be around all the time can dilute your emotional impact. If every moment is filled, none of them feel special. It's the same reason we value rare art, limited edition books, or unforgettable songs. Scarcity amplifies appreciation, but it's not just scarcity, it's meaning. What you say, how you look at someone, how you handle tension or vulnerability. These are the brush strokes of an emotional masterpiece. What's even more fascinating is that the brain tends to replay emotionally charged moments, especially when the person who created them isn't immediately accessible. When someone is no longer in front of you, but their energy still echoes in your mind, that's when obsession begins to take root. Not the unhealthy kind based in insecurity, but the magnetic pull created by emotional impact. For example, rather than striving to be constantly present, aim to be memorably present. Let each interaction carry depth, sincerity, and a sprinkle of mystery. Don't focus on filling time. Focus on creating moments that stick. Because when someone walks away from you and still feels you, and intrigue is the seed of obsession. The moment someone believes they've fully figured you out, they stop thinking about you. There's no more curiosity pulling them in. But when there's a layer of you they can't quite access, a question they haven't answered, an energy they can't pin down, that's when they start to wonder. And wondering is powerful. It means they're mentally replaying your conversations, analyzing your energy, filling in the blanks with imagination. You become a mental puzzle they want to solve, a presence they can't shake. Now, this isn't about being deceptive or withholding. Mystery isn't the same as manipulation. It's not about hiding who you are. It's about revealing yourself gradually, like a story unfolding, one chapter at a time. You don't need to tell someone your whole life story in one sitting. You don't need to text back immediately every time. You don't need to be predictable. Instead, allow people the joy of discovering you over time. The human brain is wired to crave resolution, but when something or someone isn't immediately resolvable, it becomes far more stimulating. People chase what they can't quite catch. If they always know where you are, what you're doing, how you feel about them, they lose the drive to pursue. Predictability breeds comfort, yes, but it also breeds complacency. Attraction, on the other hand, thrives in uncertainty, not the kind of uncertainty that causes insecurity, but the kind that makes someone lean in with curiosity. When they're not sure exactly what you'll say next, or what you're thinking, or where your attention is focused, they stay mentally engaged. That tension, that sense of there's more to this person, is what keeps their thoughts circling back to you. Mystery also gives you power. When you're not broadcasting your every thought, when you don't always explain yourself, when you leave just enough unsaid, you give people the opportunity to imagine. And the imagination is often more powerful than reality. What they think you might be can become even more compelling than who you are in full view. You become larger than life, not because you're faking it, but because you're letting your presence build in their mind. Authentic confidence is one of the most powerful forces in human attraction, and yet is often misunderstood. Many mistake confidence for arrogance, loudness, or dominance, but true confidence is none of those things. It's not about proving your worth, performing for attention, or trying to outshine others. Real confidence is calm, grounded, and deeply rooted in self-respect. It's quiet in the way a mountain is quiet. It doesn't need to speak to be noticed. When you embody that kind of presence, you become magnetic without even trying. At the core of this kind of confidence is emotional independence. You don't become mentally captivating by trying to win someone over or by constantly seeking reassurance. You become captivating when you hold the belief that you are whole and complete regardless of who chooses you. That energy is incredibly attractive because it communicates that your sense of self isn't fragile, it isn't swayed by outside opinions. You don't need someone to pick you. You want connection, but not at the cost of your own dignity. That's the difference. People are naturally drawn to those who don't chase validation. When someone senses that your happiness isn't dependent on their response, their attention, or their affection, it creates a dynamic shift. Suddenly, they're the ones leaning in. Why? Because there's power in emotional detachment. Not coldness, but the ability to stay centered, whether someone shows up or not. You're not rattled. You're not begging for love. You are love. And you radiate it from within. This kind of confidence also creates safety. It tells the other person, I know who I am, and I don't need to impress you to feel worthy. That makes others feel free too. It's not performative. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up fully as yourself, flaws, strengths, quirks, and all, and still standing tall. That authenticity disarms people. It gives them permission to be real too. And that's rare. That's memorable. That's how you begin to live in someone's mind, not as an idealized fantasy, but as someone whose presence feels refreshingly real in a world that often feels filtered and fake. When you walk into a room with self-assurance, when you speak with clarity and don't over-explain yourself, when you can enjoy your own company and are selective with your energy, those things are noticed. Even if no one says it out loud, they feel it. And what people feel is what they remember. You don't need to shout your worth. You just need to embody it. That energy lingers long after a conversation ends. It leaves people thinking there's something different about them, something solid. And that difference, that unwavering belief in yourself, is what turns heads and stays in minds. You're not trying to become someone's obsession by pretending to be more. You're becoming unforgettable by being fully you. That's not just confidence, it's power. And that power is impossible to ignore. Possessing value is one thing. Communicating it effectively is something else entirely. Many people walk through life with incredible qualities: kindness, intelligence, humor, emotional depth, but they remain unnoticed, not because they aren't valuable, but because they don't know how to show that value in meaningful, memorable ways. Attraction is not just about who you are on paper. It's about how you present, express, and embody those qualities when it counts in relationships. Especially in the early stages, people can only respond to what they see and feel, not what you quietly know you have within you. The world doesn't reward hidden brilliance. It responds to energy, expression, and presence. You could be thoughtful and emotionally intelligent, but if you shrink yourself in conversation, avoid eye contact, or never speak with certainty, that value stays hidden. You could be funny, but if your humor only comes out when you're alone or nervous, others might never witness it. Now, you can have high standards and strong boundaries, but if you constantly compromise them to please others or avoid conflict, no one will ever know where your worth truly lies. It's not enough to just have value. You must learn to own it, express it, and let it be seen. This doesn't mean you should brag or perform. In fact, the most powerful displays of value are often subtle, but they're unmistakable. It's in the way you speak with intention instead of trying to fill silence with empty words. It's in the way you say no with grace but firmness instead of apologizing for your standards. It's in the way you express enthusiasm without overreaching, listen deeply without needing to dominate, and share your story not to impress but to connect. These are the moments where your true worth shows, not through perfection but through clarity and presence. Confidence without value can come off as arrogance, but value without confidence gets ignored. The sweet spot is when your inner worth is matched by outer expression. When someone leaves a conversation with you and thinks they were different, they knew who they were, you succeeded in communicating value. And that impression doesn't fade quickly, it lingers. It leads them to reflect on what made you stand out, makes them want to come back and experience that presence again. Too often, people believe that if someone really cares, they'll just see their worth. But human connection doesn't work that way. We're wired to respond to emotional cues, body language, tone, and presence. If you're always downplaying yourself, try not to be too much, or waiting for the right moment to speak your truth, you may be unintentionally silencing your own impact. That's not humility, it's hiding. So don't just be valuable, show your value. Let people experience it in your voice, your boundaries, your passions, and your standards. When you show up fully and unapologetically, your value speaks for itself, and that's what makes people remember you long after you've left the room. One of the most misunderstood dynamics in modern relationships is the difference between emotional investment and emotional availability. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of connection. When someone shows interest, flirts, or gives us attention, we naturally start to invest emotionally. We think about them, wonder what they're doing, and anticipate the next message. But here's where many people go wrong. They confuse their own emotional investment with the other person's availability. Just because you're emotionally invested doesn't mean the other person is emotionally present. And often someone not texting back isn't a reflection of you. It's a reflection of their lack of readiness, clarity, or interest. It's not always personal. In fact, many times it has very little to do with you at all. People carry unresolved issues, distractions, priorities, or simply different intentions. Maybe they're not looking for the same depth or commitment you are, but because you're invested, you begin to assign meaning to their silence. You overthink, you analyze, you assume it must be something you did, said, or failed to express. This creates an emotional imbalance where one person is waiting while the other is drifting. And that imbalance can lead to frustration, insecurity, and a pattern of chasing. But it's crucial to understand, chasing doesn't create connection. Chasing creates exhaustion. And more importantly, it reinforces a dynamic where you continue to give energy to someone who isn't giving it back. This is where emotional clarity becomes your greatest tool. Instead of asking, why isn't he texting me? Shift the question to, is this someone who is capable of meeting me where I am emotionally? That change in perspective helps protect your self-worth, because if someone is emotionally unavailable, no amount of overthinking, waiting, or texting first will change that. You cannot force connection with someone who's not emotionally present. Now, emotional availability isn't just about how often someone texts. It's about how consistently they show up. It's in the patterns of behavior, not isolated actions. Anyone can send a sweet message once in a while, but real interest is measured in consistency and intentionality. Someone who wants to talk to you will make space in their life to do so. Someone who values you won't leave you guessing. Silence, in this case, isn't ambiguous, it's revealing. In the end, emotional investment without reciprocation is a one-way road. And no matter how much you care, how much potential you see, or how many butterflies you feel, if it's not mutual, it's not healthy. Recognizing the difference between what you feel and what they're. Many people enter relationships or romantic situations with the belief that if it's meant to be, it should happen effortlessly. There's this cultural idea that love should feel magical, spontaneous, and easy. And while attraction can often feel electric in the beginning, lasting connection isn't built on ease. It's built on intention. The idea that someone pulling away or going silent is just part of some romantic mystery is a dangerous illusion that keeps many people stuck in emotionally unavailable dynamics. When someone doesn't text you back, it's tempting to create stories in your mind to explain their behavior. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe they're testing you. Maybe they're trying not to seem too eager. But in most cases, it's not that deep. They're simply not making you a priority. And when someone isn't making the effort, that isn't a sign to wait it out. It's a moment to pause and see things for what they are. This illusion of effortless love teaches us to romanticize inconsistency. We're told that playing hard to get builds attraction, that unpredictability keeps the spark alive. But here's the truth. Inconsistency builds anxiety, not intimacy. When you're constantly left wondering where you stand with someone, that's not passion, it's confusion. Healthy love doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't show up one day and disappear the next. It doesn't create a roller coaster of highs and lows. Instead, it offers presence, communication, and clarity. But when people believe that love should just happen, they stop holding others accountable for their actions. They start accepting bare minimums, one-word replies as signs of connection when really they are signs of indifference, as signs of connection when really they are signs of indifference. We also have to recognize that effort is not weakness. Expressing interest doesn't make you needy. Seeking clarity doesn't make you clingy. Wanting consistency doesn't make you high maintenance. These are basic emotional needs. When someone says they like you but can't even consistently respond or communicate, they are selling you an idea, not a reality. And often people stay emotionally hooked on the idea, what could be, instead of seeing what actually is. This is where we need to shift from fantasy to fact. Fantasy says it will work if I just stay patient. Fact says if they wanted to, they would. Attraction that sustains over time requires effort, attention, and care, not just chemistry. We have to move beyond waiting for the perfect moment or the right response and begin to value the energy we bring to the table. Real connection isn't effortless, it's intentional. And it's not built on text games, silence, or mixed signals. It's built on mutual effort and emotional availability. When someone isn't meeting you there, it's not your job to chase or fix. It's your opportunity to choose differently. One of the most empowering lessons in relationships is this: you teach people how to treat you. It's not just a catchy phrase. It's a principle that shapes the dynamics you allow, the standards you set, and the respect you receive. In every interaction, you're either reinforcing your boundaries or silently permitting them to be ignored. And the way someone treats you is often a reflection of what you've taught them you'll tolerate. Let's break this down. When someone doesn't text you back for hours or even days, but you respond the moment they do reach out, what message are you sending? Whether you realize it or not, you're teaching them that your time and emotional availability are always open, even when theirs isn't. You're reinforcing a one-sided dynamic where inconsistency is rewarded, not questioned. People observe your behavior more than they listen to your words. You can say, I want consistency, but if you keep responding to breadcrumbs, you're showing that inconsistency is acceptable. This doesn't mean you should play games or withhold affection. It means you should be conscious of how your actions teach others how to treat you. Your silence, your responses, your standards, they all speak on your behalf. When you continue to invest in someone who isn't reciprocating, you may think you're showing patience, understanding, or loyalty, but in truth, you're teaching them that your needs are flexible, that your time is negotiable and that your emotions come second. And once that pattern is established, it becomes very hard to reverse. Why would someone change their behavior if there's no reason to? On the other hand, when you hold your boundaries, you teach others that you value yourself. You show that your presence is a privilege, not a guarantee. That respect and consistency aren't optional. They're expected. And this isn't about ego. It's about emotional self-respect. Setting standards doesn't mean giving ultimatums. It means clearly identifying what behavior aligns with your values and acting accordingly when that behavior is missing. If someone consistently falls short, the most powerful thing you can do is disengage, and not to punish them. Remember, you are not obligated to keep explaining why you deserve to be treated well. You only need to model it through the way you live, love, and respond. And when someone doesn't meet you there, that's not a rejection. It's a redirection to someone who will. In every relationship, you are either shaping the dynamic or being shaped by it. Choose to lead with clarity, self-respect, and boundaries. Because the way others treat you starts with how you treat yourself. And what you allow, you reinforce. Every response is a lesson. Make sure when someone gives you little to no effort, when they don't initiate conversations, delay responses, or disappear entirely, yet you're still holding on, still hoping, still trying, you may tell yourself, I'm just confused. I don't know where I stand. But the truth is, unreturned effort is not confusion, it's clarity. We often cling to mixed signals because they leave room for hope. We assume that if they occasionally respond, if they once showed interest, if they haven't explicitly said they're not into us, then maybe something is still there. But the inconsistency itself is the answer. If you're doing all the reaching and they're doing all the disappearing, that imbalance is your reality. It's not a sign to try harder. It's a sign to reflect and recalibrate. Here's the shift in perspective. Silence is not a puzzle to be solved. It's a boundary being drawn. When someone pulls away or doesn't put in effort, they're communicating something, even if it's not in words. And sometimes the most honest message people give us is in their lack of action. We just need the courage to accept it.